the likelihood of a fight with you and Terence Crawford? It would be one of the biggest in boxing.
We don't talking about yet about the fight. Me and Turki know each other, and then we went.
Turki Al-Sheikh has been relentless in his pursuit of bringing Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez into the same ring. With a jaw-dropping $95 million offer, it looked like boxing's next big super fight was on the horizon. But Crawford, to the surprise of many, has now declined the deal.
If it isn't Canelo next year, are you done from the sport, Terence?
I wouldn't say that. Right now, I'm just weighing out my options and looking for the best opportunities and options for Terence Crawford in my career.
Absolutely.
The response wasn't what you'd expect from a fighter supposedly hungry for legacy and greatness, leaving the boxing world divided on whether this was a calculated move or a missed opportunity.
Said he wants to see Canelo Alvarez versus Terence "Bud" Crawford. What is your honest thoughts on that as an opportunity and a potential fight?
Oh, it's always is a chance there, right? We'll see, but always is a chance there, and we're here to make the best deals, and always a chance.
Turki hasn't given up hope. He's still determined to make the fight happen, offering to negotiate directly with Canelo and provide what he considers a fair price. But what is fair when one fighter has everything to lose and the other stands to gain a massive payday and undeniable legacy points? Canelo has made it clear in the past that he values his fights highly, especially those that risk his reputation or invite criticism. For him, a fight against Crawford offers money, which he doesn't lack, and little else. Legacy-wise, it's a mismatch. Beating Crawford would bring no real credit. Fans would still be left asking why he wasn't fighting David Benavidez, or another legitimate threat at 168 pounds.
For that fight, it's the same for me. I don't need to take that fight because everybody's gonna say it's too small, and then, he needs to enjoy his fight.
Okay. Crawford's fixation on Canelo has its logic. Fighting Canelo would bring him the kind of attention, legacy, and payday few fighters ever achieve. It's a chance to catapult himself into the history books while cashing in at a level rarely seen in the sport. But this obsession with one name has created a strange dynamic. Turki promised Crawford he could have any fight he wanted, but Crawford isn't interested in anyone else. Fighters like Jaron Boots Ennis, Sebastian Fundora, or even David Morrell are seen as steps backward for someone of Crawford's caliber.
Yeah, because a lot of people are saying like, hey, forget about Canelo. That was a tough fight with Madrimov. Go ahead and give Boots a shot. Give Boots the chance. But Eddie's saying, hey, I think Crawford's saying, hey, give me the Canelo fight or I'm not fighting. I'm done.
Why? What he got to prove to Boots? Boots trying to take over and start beating the guys around him. Prove that he's the best of that group. Bud is in a group above him. Bud don't need to come back down to 47 to meet him. That's crazy. Why would he? Bud looking to try to make history and get out.
Still, avoiding these fights might not be the wisest move. Facing someone like Benavidez, for instance, could elevate Crawford's reputation while giving him a safety net. If he loses, he can easily point to Benavidez's size, youth, and raw power as the deciding factors. The same goes for Artur Beterbiev or Dmitry Bivol. Taking on one of these dangerous opponents would provide enormous publicity, even if the outcome wasn't in Crawford's favor. It's not just about winning. It's about showing the world that he's willing to take risks against the best in the business.
Has the Canelo fight, realistically left your mind once he said he's not interested, or you still pursuing it?
Not at all. I think business talk.
Yet Crawford doesn't seem interested in risks that don't come with the reward of fighting Canelo. His singular focus has left some fans questioning his intentions. Is he chasing greatness, or is he unwilling to gamble his pristine record against opponents who might not bring the same level of fame and fortune? The criticism grows louder with each passing day. Fighters like Benavidez and Morrell are calling for big fights, and Crawford's decision to pass on these opportunities doesn't sit well with a fan base eager for action.
No, look, it's his weight class. 75 is his weight class, and he do nothing in 175. Really, no, he's not the same. But he's
Canelo, meanwhile, has his own battles to consider. His potential fight against David Benavidez is the matchup fans are truly clamoring for, and it's one that could bring him the respect he deserves. But even that fight has its complications. Reports suggest Canelo wants an astronomical $200 million for the bout, a figure that makes the $100 million offer for Crawford look like a bargain. If Canelo is holding out for such an enormous payday, it's hard to imagine him stepping into the ring with Crawford for less, especially when the stakes are far lower.
Canelo, Johnny Boy Boxing, Fight Hype. I just want to ask you, what do you think about Terence Crawford? What do we think about Terence Crawford's performance, and do you want to get a fight with him?
If the money is right, I mean...
$100 million? I heard Turkey offered you a big money already.
150.
The dynamics of this situation are messy, to say the least. Turkey's attempt to broker a deal has added another layer of complexity. While his enthusiasm is admirable, it's clear that he might be underestimating what it takes to bring Canelo to the table. The promise of a fair price might sound reasonable, but Canelo's track record suggests he's not one to settle for less than he believes he's worth, and why should he? At this stage in his career, Canelo has nothing to prove. His legacy is secure, and his financial future is set.
Start doing that.
Where do things stand with Turkey? Turkey said he would like to open a line of communication with you. No middleman, just you and him. And
I never say no to business. So if it is a business for me, I'm open to talk, no matter what.
For Crawford, the situation is different. He's in a position where one wrong move could tarnish his legacy, but a big win could elevate him to the pantheon of all-time greats. That's why his reluctance to face anyone other than Canelo is so puzzling. A fight against Benavidez or Bivol wouldn't just be a good fight. It could arguably be better than fighting Canelo. Losing to a much larger opponent would come with built-in excuses, and the publicity would still be massive. Fans would respect the courage it takes to step into the ring with a bigger, stronger foe, even if the result didn't go his way.
Very, very effortlessly. He's a tough guy to deal with, and 12 rounds is a long time. But Crawford has a very deep bag of tricks. He's got great, very high boxing IQ. We always watch him early on. He's collecting data on his opponent. Madrimov was a tough nut to crack. It took him a lot of rounds to figure it out, but 9, 10, 11, 12, he started really pushing that pace, was able to get his hands off, get those.
But instead of exploring these options, Crawford has chosen to stay fixated on Canelo. His decision to turn down Turkey's $100 million offer sends a mixed message. On one hand, it suggests that Crawford is serious about not appearing desperate for the fight. On the other, it raises questions about whether he's truly interested in taking on the best challenges available. For Turkey, the road ahead is uncertain. He's made it clear that he's willing to go the extra mile to make this fight happen, but his optimism might not be enough. The harsh reality is that Canelo holds all the cards, and he knows it. If Turkey wants to make this fight a reality, he'll have to offer something truly extraordinary, something that goes beyond just a big paycheck. As for Crawford, his options are shrinking. The longer he waits, the more the boxing world moves on.
I just want the opportunity, to fight the best fighter in my generation that's out there. He's the most accomplished fighter, and I would just like to, fight another.
Fighters like Benavidez, Morel, and even Beterbiev are making waves, and each missed opportunity chips away at Crawford's relevance. He might not see these fights as appealing now, but in the grand scheme of things, they could be the stepping stones he needs to secure the legacy he craves. Even with all this, Crawford still decided to fight Madrimov, a fight that, to Canelo, didn't exactly show Crawford as a worthy opponent. Despite Crawford securing a unanimous decision victory, Canelo openly suggested that Madrimov deserved a better outcome. Speaking to Fight Hype, the Mexican superstar made his stance clear. I think he knows why there's weight classes there, right? He had a good fight, but for me, I think he lost the fight, or draw. It could have been the other side.
They talk all the crazy stuff about me going up and having a tough time, but he went up in weight and lost. That's the difference. I went up weight and won. He went up and lost. So let's not do that, Canelo.
Those words carry weight. Canelo isn't just a spectator in Crawford's career. He's the man many expect to stand across the ring from him should Crawford make the full leap to super middleweight. For Canelo to criticize Crawford's debut at super welterweight as anything less than stellar undercuts any momentum Crawford hoped to build toward that potential fight. From Crawford's perspective, his debut in a higher weight class was supposed to be a statement. Israel Madrimov, with only 11 professional fights, might not have had the deepest resume, but his amateur pedigree and awkward style presented a legitimate challenge. Crawford delivered flashes of his usual brilliance, but Madrimov found success as well, enough to make the fight competitive.
The others say, like, no, that's 2 more weight classes. Like, once he gets touched by Canelo, it's going to be different.
I am concerned about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds. We do know this about Canelo. He's going to slow down.
Promoter Eddie Hearn wasn't shy about his frustrations with the outcome, arguing that Madrimov was unfairly judged. Crawford didn't do enough to snatch the belt, Hearn said, voicing what some in the boxing world are thinking. That critique alone casts a shadow over the victory, but when combined with Canelo's damning verdict, it raises an even bigger question. Why would Canelo entertain the idea of fighting Crawford now? Canelo's position is unique. He's not just another champion, he's a unified super middleweight kingpin, a fighter whose every move is dissected. For him to take a fight with Crawford after such a lukewarm debut at a higher weight class would undoubtedly invite criticism. Fans would accuse him of picking on a smaller, weaker opponent, especially if Crawford falters in the ring against him.
I don't think it's a fight Canelo really wants, if I'm honest, because I think he feels like he won't get a lot of credit beating a light middleweight. And Crawford's going to move a lot in that fight, which is not ideal for Canelo. But what's his options? I mean, like...
For Canelo, the risk doesn't seem worth the reward. Even if he wins convincingly, as many would expect, the narrative could easily flip against him. Instead of celebrating another feather in his cap, he'd face accusations of cherry-picking a smaller fighter whose move up in weight proved shaky at best. Crawford's unanimous decision over Madrimov may have added another belt to his collection, making him a 4-division world champion, but it also opened the door for doubts about his ability to handle the size, power, and skill of fighters in higher weight classes. Those doubts make a fight with Canelo less enticing. For Alvarez, who thrives on cementing his legacy against worthy adversaries, a match with Crawford now feels less like a career-defining moment and more like an unnecessary gamble.
Turki Al-Sheikh playing games. You got somebody ask Turki Al-Sheikh, is this happening? Look at his response about Crawford facing Canelo. Look at his response. Make the fight, Turki, make the fight.
Canelo's fight against Edgar Berlanga highlighted the stark difference in stakes. Berlanga, while not yet a household name, is a natural super middleweight with knockout power and youth on his side. The victory against Berlanga reinforced Canelo's dominance in the division and kept his legacy intact. A fight with Crawford, on the other hand, doesn't offer the same level of validation. Crawford's situation becomes even more complicated when viewed through this lens. Madrimov was supposed to be a stepping stone, a way to prove he could compete at higher weights and justify the hype around a Canelo showdown. Instead, the performance gave critics ammunition and made Canelo's skepticism all the more resonant.
Just from your expert opinion, knowing how Canelo fights, what he's like in the ring, I know you haven't been in the ring with Terence, but what do you think of that fight?
I truly believe, that, anything can happen in boxing, you know what I'm saying? And Terence Crawford is a legend. He's great. He's a great fighter. The only thing I see that I favor Canelo is that, his weight. Yeah. And that he's more bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But as far as skill set wise, IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do way better,
In the world of boxing, perception is everything. Crawford's victory might read as another win on paper, but the reactions from Hearn and Canelo tell a different story. They highlight a performance that, while sufficient to secure a belt, wasn't convincing enough to erase doubts about Crawford's viability in weight classes beyond his comfort zone. Canelo, with his trademark pragmatism, appears to be playing the long game. By questioning Crawford's performance, he's not just throwing shade, he's shaping the narrative. If a fight between the two does happen, Canelo wants it on terms that make sense for him, financially, competitively, and in terms of legacy. Until then, Crawford's path forward might require more than just belts. It'll take performances that leave no room for doubt, something his win over Madrimov failed to deliver.
for me in my weight class it's an easy fight. For me, easy money. So if the money is right, I'm in, because you know I don't like to fight guys like Crawford because he move a lot and the fight is not that great. I saw Crawford the last fight and he don't move that much now. So yeah, if the money is right, I'm in. Why not?
As things stand, the gulf between Crawford and Canelo feels wider than ever. Canelo, comfortable in his status as a pound-for-pound great, doesn't need Crawford to solidify his place in history. But for Crawford, the reverse might not be true. To truly elevate his legacy, he'll need to convince not just the fans, but also Canelo himself that he's a worthy opponent. And after Madrimov, that's a harder sell than anyone expected. But it seems like it will remain just a conversation rather than a reality, as the obstacles in the way are far more complex than agreeing on a multi-million-dollar purse.
We want financials. Tell him we going for Canelo next. Yes. Let's go. Canelo, come on.
Heard from him.
We are ready.
Canelo Alvarez, being the biggest draw in boxing, already commands unmatched financial clout in the sport. However, his reported $200 million purse demand to face David Benavidez is widely seen as a strategic barrier rather than a genuine expectation. It's a way to sidestep the fight without openly rejecting it. For a fighter of Canelo's stature, every move is calculated. Accepting a fight with Crawford, who is significantly smaller and unproven at super middleweight, comes with its own risks, ones that go beyond the physical. Eddie Hearn offered insights into why this potential fight faces so many hurdles. Speaking to Fight Hype, Hearn made it clear that despite his excellency, Turki Al-Sheikh's enthusiasm for the matchup, Canelo himself appears less eager. I'll be honest, I'd be very surprised if that fight happens, Hearn admitted. It didn't seem like it was something Canelo really wanted to do.
With all the antics that Canelo is doing and saying in the media and whatnot, about the size and he won't get no credit and all this type of things, but Canelo been fighting smaller guys his whole career.
Hearn revealed that he had spoken directly with Canelo about the fight and got a straightforward answer. Canelo's hesitancy stems from the likely narrative that would follow a victory over Crawford. I think his feeling is that when he beats Crawford, everyone will say, "I beat a 154-pound fighter," Hearn explained. This point cuts to the core of the issue. For Canelo, the fight against Crawford is a lose-lose situation. If he wins, critics will dismiss it as a foregone conclusion against a smaller opponent. If he loses, the backlash would be even harsher, questioning how a generational talent like Canelo could be outclassed by someone jumping up 2 weight divisions. The size disparity is not just a talking point, it's a central factor in the entire conversation. Crawford, for all his skill and dominance, has yet to prove himself at 168 pounds. Madrimov, a natural super welterweight with a tricky style but limited professional experience, managed to expose vulnerabilities in Crawford's game. Demetrius Andrade, another respected voice in the boxing world, weighed in with a blunt assessment of Crawford's chances at 168 pounds. Speaking to Fight Hub TV, Andrade said, "Canelo is a fierce wolf and can run all night. I think Crawford has the skills. But when it comes to Saul taking punches and blocking his power punches, Canelo also knows how to move. He has agility, not like a robot." Andrade's analysis highlights the uphill battle Crawford would face in such a matchup. Canelo's ability to absorb punches, control the pace, and adapt in the ring would likely negate Crawford's technical advantages.
So how can you, a man coming from 147, I know he's a great man. Crawford is a great man and a great warrior. But you come from 147 to put on a better fight.
While Andrade acknowledged Crawford's undeniable skills, he expressed doubts about the outcome. "I don't think Crawford can beat Canelo, but I still think he can give him a good fight, and I'll be sitting there watching it," Andrade added. The sentiment that Crawford might be out of his depth isn't limited to Andrade. It's a widely shared opinion in boxing circles. Even as Crawford entertains the idea of moving up 2 divisions, the practicality of such a leap is questionable. Fighters like Canelo, who have been operating at super middleweight for years, are accustomed to the size, strength, and endurance required at that level. For Crawford, who has built his legacy at 135, 140, and 147 pounds, the adjustment would be monumental.
He did wonderful, you know, I can't. Hey, A++.
Is he one of the best offensive fighters in the game?
One of them, definitely.
What makes him that fight?
You know what I mean? He's just relentless, you know what I mean? It's pressure, but it's smart pressure, you know?
Canelo's reluctance to engage with Crawford is also tied to his current trajectory. The Mexican star has repeatedly expressed his desire to fight the best available opponents while maintaining his position as the sport's top draw. For Canelo, the matchup carries far less risk of reputational damage compared to facing Crawford. Meanwhile, Crawford's options are narrowing. A fight with Canelo represents the pinnacle of what he could achieve financially and historically. But the road to that fight is blocked by factors outside his control. Even Turki Alalshik's substantial financial backing may not be enough to sway Canelo if the Mexican feels the fight doesn't align with his legacy goals. The size disadvantage is perhaps the most significant challenge. It's not just about the numbers on a scale, it's about how those numbers translate in the ring. At 168 pounds, Canelo's punches carry a level of power and authority that Crawford has never faced. The idea that Crawford could overcome such a deficit with skill alone is enticing but unrealistic in the eyes of many experts. Canelo's calculated approach to his career ensures that every fight he takes adds to his legacy. A victory over Crawford, while financially lucrative, doesn't offer the same level of validation as wins over natural super middleweights or light heavyweights. For Canelo, the narrative matters as much as the result. Crawford's chances against Canelo Alvarez stem from his undeniable skill, ring IQ, and ability to adapt mid-fight. Crawford's versatility, switching seamlessly between orthodox and southpaw stances, has baffled opponents at every weight class he's fought in. His timing, precision, and ability to exploit an opponent's weaknesses could potentially trouble even a fighter of Canelo's caliber. Bud's footwork and defensive instincts might allow him to avoid Canelo's powerful combinations and create opportunities to counter. However, the glaring challenge lies in moving up to 168 pounds. Crawford has dominated at 147, but the physicality of super middleweight is an entirely different beast. Fighters in this division are naturally stronger and harder hitting. Canelo, a seasoned campaigner at 168, has carried his power through multiple weight classes, delivering crushing blows to opponents like Caleb Plant and Billy Joe Saunders. Crawford would not only have to contend with his power, but also with Canelo's iron chin, which has absorbed shots from some of the sport's heaviest hitters. Adding to the difficulty, Crawford's frame might struggle to carry the added weight without compromising speed and stamina, two of his key assets. While his skill set might match or even surpass Canelo's in certain aspects, the size and strength disparity could render those advantages less effective. Canelo's ability to cut off the ring and impose his will against larger opponents could overwhelm Crawford, especially in the later rounds. As the possibility of this fight fades, Crawford's path forward becomes increasingly challenging. To truly position himself as a threat to Canelo, he would need to prove his worth against top-tier opponents at 168 pounds, a task that seems daunting given the circumstances. Until then, the conversation about a Crawford-Canelo showdown will remain just that, a conversation. What do you think? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates.